National Medal of Honor Heritage Center is coming to Mount Pleasant very soon. Today, I talk one-on-one with the National Medal of Honor Heritage Foundation Chairman, Tom McQueeney, about the progress of this for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Tom McQueeney, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
How are you doing, Quintin?
Oh, I'm doing great. I know that obviously you're the National Medal of Honor Heritage Foundation Chairman, and obviously the National Medal of Honor Leadership and Education Center Foundation seeks to construct and maintain the National Medal of Honor Leadership and Education Center to house the Congressional Medal of Honor Museum, the Congressional Medal of Honor Society headquarters, and of course the Congressional Medal of Honor Memorial Chapel, hopefully all within in the Mount Pleasant area soon. So let me ask you this, Tom. What's new? What's now with that project?
Well, a lot of great things are going on, but let me kind of simplify some things. We go by the National Medal of Honor Leadership and Education Center, although our 501 is under the first name you use. But we thought that would be we're DBA, thought it would be a little easier on the public to explain what we do. We have our building plans, so a lot of that is moved very far down the road, which is great. We recently, when you ask about what's up, we recently signed a new agreement with the Congressional Medal of Honor Society. Now that's the 65 living recipients, and several of them were in town on March 17th. For this announcement, we had a joint announcement on the USS Yorktown. We had a pretty good crowd there that came, and a lot of dignitaries from across the state that were there in addition to the recipients. But we announced a gift of $3.5 million to help expand and, of course, enhance the existing Medal of Honor Museum on the Yorktown. And we're really excited about that. Number one, it's the right thing to do. It needed to be done. There were some concerns that a lot of the War on Terror recipients weren't really represented in there as much as they should be. So they were kind of, last time that museum was done, it was in 2007. And when you think about it, we really didn't have that new tranche of recipients coming in. So it's a corrective measure in some ways, and a much needed measure in terms of really moving forward the people that me and so many others think are real American heroes. And I make the statement, I hope this isn't too long of an answer, Quintin, but I make the statement that, who are our heroes? Are our heroes in Hollywood? Are they politicians, celebrities, baseball players, basketball players? No. Our heroes are those people that want to lay down their lives and have demonstrated that to save others across the country in military action. Very, very selfless individuals. And if you speak to just about any one of them, I'd say every one of them, they just say they're doing their duty, what they were taught to do. And so what we're trying to do in our facility is take that whole concept of selflessness and move it on to their 6 pillars of virtue that they exhibit. We're calling it Meet Your Moment. Meeting your moment means making the right decision at that time in your life. And those moments may occur multiple times in any one day. So it's a great upgrade for them. It also solidifies some things for us. The Congressional Medal of Honor Society, this is the recipients, have agreed to extend their commitment to the Low Country by a new agreement. So they're staying here. They're not going anywhere. And that's important, not only nationally, but also to this local community.
Oh, absolutely. So when did the new agreement come about?
Yeah, we announced it March 17th. We'd been working on it for several weeks prior to that. And just kind of came to conclusion that this would be the best way to do it and the best timing to have the recipients come in town. It was the week before National Medal of Honor Day, celebrated on March 25th each year. So we couldn't get them here on the 25th because most of them were going to be in Washington for that celebration.
And I know that 20 years ago, Mount Pleasant was designated the National Medal Honor Site, that is, and a contract is in place at Patriots Point with the Yorktown due 2023 of this year. I know that you hope to have had the new museum up before the contract expires. So has that particular contract been amended?
It was not so much amended, but extended. And that's all good for all parties, every concern. COVID kind of had an impact on everyone. I'm sure you have COVID stories, as do I. But that impact meant a lot of things. It meant that the availability, for instance, of steel and glass became very rare and expensive. The other things that the hoops that you need to jump through to put a building up, you have to get it approved, permitted. Soil borings, all of those things. And generally speaking, from what I've understood from many, it's almost a year's lead time to do most of that stuff if you're lucky. The number I'm hearing is 11 months. So to get the permissions from Patriots Point, they've been tremendous, as has the town of Mount Pleasant. They still have a process. And that process, is as fast as they can go. It still takes a lot of time. So we've begun that process, and we've already worked with a contractor, exhibit designer, land planner, all of the above to get this done. And of course, the architect and engineer that's involved is also local. In fact, the only non-local, contractor we have in this is the exhibit designer, and they're very famous. Is Healy Kohler. They're out of Washington, D.C. And for people who want to see their work, they actually did another project here in Charleston that they need to go see, and that's the Convention and Visitors Bureau Center, which is the tourist center right there on Meeting Street.
That's right. Right. I'm actually sitting couple of blocks away from that. So I know that when I spoke with you last fall, Tom, you said that you hope to start construction on a new museum by January 2022. So let me ask you, what's the price tag right now for this museum?
Yeah, that's changed as well. So our fundraising had to ramp up because of it. But originally we were looking at about a $30 million building that's now probably closer to $42 million. And we're anticipating the future, what those costs the increases will be. So we're targeted about $42 million in there. And then we have sustainability funding, and we're going to also fund what I've called all along is the long pole in the tent of what we're doing. And that is, while we'll have a fabulous, immersive and educational museum on our first floor, beyond that, we need to have something that makes a difference across the country. Not everybody's going to be able to come to our museum. But everybody can participate in our leadership and education program, and we put a lot of emphasis on that. And we've got a national team together. We've hired a director of education out of Johns Hopkins. We've got a team together that's assembled that, and it looks pretty good. We're going to have our first event symposium at the Moore School of Business in Columbia in August. First week of August, mark your calendar. But that's going to require funding as well. But what we're going to be able to do, Quintin, is to export our the Medal of Honor brand of leadership into classrooms and boardrooms across the country. We know from our research that just in the year 2019, the last pre-COVID year, that $366 billion, that's with a B, was spent on leadership training just by corporations. So when you think about the corporations are spending that kind of money to teach leadership, especially to their middle management, there's a place there and a platform that ought to have to do with the precepts of the Medal of Honor, just I'm sure you know what they are, but you've got courage, commitment, sacrifice, integrity, citizenship, and patriotism. And so those are things that we will be teaching, and those certainly can transfer back into the corporate community. But we're looking beyond corporations. We're looking into healthcare. We're of course looking into military veterans. Of course, our first foray is going to be into colleges. So we'll have a certificate program that we're working with several colleges already to bring in. So you can get a Medal of Honor certificate with these college programs in leadership, which I'm sure would be a great thing to have on anyone's resume. But we're also going beyond that in small businesses. Another one that we think would be a great platform to go into is nonprofits. So our plans are big. We're like at a smorgasbord, and we're picking up the grilled cheese sandwich, the chicken, and the barbecue. Yeah, and so there's a lot on our plate.
Yes, indeed. I love barbecue. Being just from back from Nashville a couple of weeks ago. But let me ask you this, Tom: sustainability funding. What are the estimates for that?
Our early estimates are around 9 million, and that's to try. The real thing we'd like to do is endow it. Now that's going to take years, but if you look at colleges across the country, the ones that have had these great endowments, some of them are like Harvard or University of Texas and so forth. They have these tremendous endowments, and yet you find out what they're doing is they're taking scholarships, academic scholarships mainly, but some athletic. But athletics, you see more, but the academic ones are what carry an institution, and those are endowed. So that means that the money that's in the bank, the earnings from that money pays for that scholarship every year. So when they're endowed, they're there forever in perpetuity. And we'd like to see our education program endowed eventually, so that the funding for that is there in perpetuity. We won't always have Medal of Honor recipients available. They're a dwindling breed, unfortunately. There's only 65 left. 2007, when we had that event on the Yorktown, there were 120 recipients still living. So, you just take 16 years, if I did my math right, then, we've lost almost half. We're down to 65. Yeah.
So what other initiatives do you have in place to make sure that endowment is intact with your particular project?
Yeah, we've got to hit the road. So we're doing an event this Tuesday night, kind of a community event. I'd invite anybody that would like to come to it. But it's called Cocktails for a Cause, and that's Tuesday night at the Harbor Club. 6:15, 6:30 is good. Anybody that wants to come, they just pay one little short cover charge. It's almost like a tip, $20, and you come in, you hear about all what we're doing. You'll get to see a lot of your neighbors and friends from around the community, and you get a little bit of a primer on what's going on with our organization and why it's exciting. So that's our first real public foray to see what's going on. but we're doing other things in the background. We're in our silent fundraising. So we're in front of a lot of corporations currently with proposals and so forth. So hopefully some of that will come through. As you can see, this area, Charleston, it's one of the greatest giving areas ever invented in a urban setting. You can see that with the things we've done in the past. The most recent being the International African American Museum, which should open in June.
Right down the street, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a donor. So many people in the community is a donor. They want to see this happen. They get on board, and I think we're going to see that with our facility as well.
As well. And Tom, how many proposals are you putting together right now?
Well, it's the way you kind of do this is kind of at levels. So generally, you have some proposals out there that are 10 million, then you have 5 million, then you have 2 million and 1 million. And the way that these fundraisers work, and I'm not an expert at it. I get to watch it going on, though. It's pretty exciting.
Yep.
So when you do these things, you kind of start at the top and work down. So you're really working in almost a pyramid where you have the higher end corporations and individual net worth people at the very top, and then you start working down, and those are also higher income, higher net worth individuals and corporations that you work with, even moving down several levels. And eventually you're going to get to, and just importantly, and you have a multiplier. You figure you're going to have so many people that are going to give 5 million or 50,000. Right. And of course the 50,000 is going to be a lot more than the 5 million. But you start at the top and work your way down. And these are things I'm learning, Quintin, and this is on the job training for me.
Yes, sir. And how many, without naming names, of course, but how many organizations or corporations do you want to target?
Well, I tell you, that's a great question. As many as we can get in front of that make sense for us and for them. This has got to be a two-way street. It's got to be something they see that can benefit them as well. And with the branding opportunity we have, Medal of Honor, I can think of no greater branding opportunity than the Congressional Medal of Honor. That and what we're doing, people. There are people that would invest in a museum for several reasons, and those are good. See those all the time. But I think the higher ask is always in the education field. When you can appeal to somebody that you can do something that unites the country, that teaches your grandchildren, that brings things that we all can agree on. I just use the word integrity. If we can all agree that everybody needs to have integrity. Well, that's one of the Medal of Honor precepts. So as we teach integrity, they're already doing it in a program called Character Development that the Medal of Honor does, and we're extending that into the colleges. So we're teaching that as a precept that everybody should have. Well, how does integrity play in your everyday life? It's maybe that a cashier gives you too much change. Do you give it back? How's it going to change your life not to give it back or give it back? So that's a meet your moment. What's the right thing to do? You give them the wrong change back. So that's a small example, but we want to teach that at every level, that our lives are based on integrity, and that plays into everything we do.
And another precept that you obviously want to focus on is patriotism. So let me ask you, because you said in the last interview that we feel like we need to rediscover patriotism. So how do you rediscover that right now?
Well, and it's a good timing for that. Generally, what you kind of see in our society is we get so ingrained into the drama that presents itself especially in politics. That could be in local politics, and it could be in national politics. And people get, firebrand about their political leanings. And yet, when it's all said and done, if you and I were drafted and we just didn't agree on anything politically, and we end up in a foxhole together, do you think you're going to cover my back and I'm going to cover yours? Well, that answer is absolutely yes. We're all Americans. And so as Americans, we need to be patriotic. We need to be covering each other's back. And we're trying to teach that precept is above all of our disagreements, that we're all here. We all have not only great opportunities, but we should all have a sense of duty as Americans.
And you also told me that you hope to bring the offices for the National Honor Society inside the building, along with the foundation offices to sustain the building, events, and of course a chapel. So what else do you need or want to sustain that?
Yeah, now we haven't agreed on a chapel, so I don't want to lead people to believe that we're doing that. We'd love to see that work, and that could be something in our future. But just getting to the Medal of Honor offices, that's part of the agreement we have with the Medal of Honor. We just extended. So they have agreed that if we build this building, their offices will move from the Yorktown and into the landside facility. And I tongue in cheek love to tell everybody that we're building a facility, but you don't want to think of it as a facility. We want to think of it as a facilitator.
And so how do you then, Tommy, establish this particular museum?
Well, I think part of it is in the branding. Because we have this great umbrella of our America's greatest heroes, and we have access to their interviews, their film. We've got film on Medal of Honor recipients who've since passed, and we have access to that through the Medal of Honor Society and their offices here. And we'd like to take that and use that for classroom work to see, what did so-and-so say? And this was in 1960, or this might have been in 2020. So we have those, preserved, and they can be interpolated into the lessons we'd love to teach people about things like patriotism.
Yes, indeed. And I know that obviously when we spoke the last time, you just mentioned this a few minutes ago, but you have have hired the architectural firm, and they have completed their study and plans for the museum, I believe. So
Yeah.
what exactly are people looking for from this museum?
Yeah, I think what they might be looking for and what they may get is going to be a whole lot different, because people generally go for an experience to go through a museum. And I like to say that when they walk in our front door, I think their first thought needs to be, wow. When they walk out the back door, they come back out, I think that needs to transfer into inspiration. I learned something by being here. I'm inspired to be a better person than I am right now. I'm inspired to make great decisions. I'm inspired by those before me who have sacrificed for my liberties and for my freedom. So that appeals to everyone, and it certainly appeals to our sense of who are our heroes. What is a patriot?
Right, exactly right. And I know that it will be a two-story, 50 feet patriotic museum overlooking the Charleston Harbor. So
Correct.
How exactly will this museum be structured?
Yeah, the plans that we have for it has a unique look about it. As you look at it, looking towards the Arthur Ravenel Jr. Bridge, you'll see some wavy bands on the front, and this is to conjure up the concept of the flag being raised at Iwo Jima. And even some of the materials we're using is going to be local, like maybe some tabby look into the building, and the sense of sailboats in the harbor, so that it'll have a lot of. And our architect did this. I'd love to take credit, but this is our architect, Glick Bain, that pulled all this off.
Yes, sir.
So it's got a lot of symbolism as you go in. And because we acclimated the building towards the way the sun moves across the sky, especially the morning sun,
right,
and not the afternoon sun so much, which is warm. So we wanted to help the air conditioning in the building by having more of the morning sun, less of the afternoon sun. And so as those shadows move in the lobby behind that wavy flag look, it'll look like the shadows are waving as a flag in the lobby. So again, a sense of patriotism, and that flag is symbolic about what we're all about as Americans.
And I hate to be redundant, Tommy, but let me ask you a blunt question. So will this museum be eco-friendly?
Yes, that's also a great question. Most all the time now, when people build buildings, they're looking for materials. They're looking for ways to conserve the heat and air conditioning. They're looking for the glass products that reflect rather than absorb. You'll see that a lot of things are more reflective than so that you can use the temperature control a little bit better in a building. So in every which way, and the materials that we're going to use are going to be eco-friendly as well.
Wow. So how will you actually divide the larger exhibits into sections?
Yeah, we've got several sections in there, and the way that you would come in, the first area you're going to go in is just what I talked about being in a trench together in warfare. But it's entitled "We Are Americans," and so that first room is to remind people that when you come in there, that we're all Americans. It's a very unifying thought. So the person next to you, the person behind you, they're in there because they're Americans, and you're an American. So the whole concept is to bring that in to start with, and then to have a way to teach lessons through. Now, we are going to be a little bit historic. The first Medal of Honor recipients were in the Civil War. So our first displays will be about the Civil War. Now, you probably know that the first Black recipient of the Medal of Honor happened at Morris Island. Right. So you saw it in the 54th Massachusetts, and it was in the movie Glory.
Right.
All right. So this guy's name is William Carney. By the way, one of our board members is a distant relative, maybe great grandson, that just came on our board, Alfonso Carney.
Right.
And he's a delightful man, and so this is a great tie-in for us. And he's a very successful businessman that has come back, and he really wants to get engaged, and he already has. But the Civil War will be the start, and then we'll move into other conflicts as you go through. So you'll have a touch of all of those, and it won't be just about the conflict. It'll be about the Medal of Honor in the conflict. And then as you come through, you'll end up in our gallery, which will be where you can look up any Medal of Honor recipient. There's 3,516. You got to keep in mind that nearly half of those were awarded posthumously. Their families got the medal, they didn't. It's because they died in the action, which was for the reason that they received the medal, the nation's highest award.
Right.
So you can look up. So if you think you've got a family member or a neighbor or some, that there's some association about the Medal of Honor, you in that last room, you'll be able to look that up electronically. So
Right.
you can type in a name and they'll bring a screen up, and you may have a big face, like on a large TV screen that'll come up on the wall of who that person was and what they did. So you can find out about anyone in that final room as you come out.
Wow. And unfortunately, Zoom's giving me 2 minutes. But let me ask you this quickly, Tommy. How many exhibits have you been able to swap with the Texas location so far?
Yeah, that's something we'll be working on going forward. They're building a building there too, and we
Yes.
hope they're very successful.
Yes, sir.
Again, as General Livingston says, that
Yes.
not everybody can come to our museum, might be able to go to that one.
Right.
But there's 4 or 5 other Medal of Honor locations. We hope there'll be a dozen more
Yes.
going forward, that the branding will all work. We feel like we're the center spoke, or the center of a wheel that has many spokes with Medal of Honor. So we'll work with all of these different Medal of Honor locations around the country. We'll put our best foot forward and try to help them however we can, and hopefully we'll have some reciprocation going forward.
Well, I would like to continue this conversation with you in the summer and the fall. But for right now, National Medal of Honor, Her Heritage Foundation Chairman Tommy McQueeney, thank you for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
All right. Thank you, Quintin. Anytime. Look forward to seeing you again.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.